An attractive young woman went to take photos of what she thought was an abandoned home. As she snapped photographs, she decided to take a closer look. Needless to say, what she found in the living room was not what she was expecting. Before we start, can we get this video to 1,000 likes? Please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Leslie Muir, an urban explorer and photographer, was on her way home after a long day of exploring on her birthday when a seemingly abandoned red house caught her eye. Seeing art in the dilapidated structure and overgrown yard, she stopped on a whim to snap a few photos of the mysterious residence. However, she would soon be left in disbelief as she discovered what was inside. As an urban explorer, Leslie has countless photographs of forgotten places, but this random red house changed her life forever when she was least expecting it. Helping herself to someone else's property, she walked around and took pictures of all the interesting details. That's when her curiosity led her inside the house, where she made her shocking discovery, which no one would have known about had Leslie's inquisitiveness and maybe even fate not put her in the right place at the right time. Under her username, _tourist on Instagram, Leslie Muir explained that she's seen this house before, and it's always intrigued her for reasons that she wasn't sure about until she decided to stop one day. Since it looked like it had been deserted for years, she assumed it was abandoned and wasn't worried about injuring anyone by taking a look inside. The driveway is overgrown, the roof is caving in, and the interior would lead anyone to believe this land had been deserted, she explained. Right there in the living room, Leslie's life would be forever changed when she heard a quaint hello. In the middle of what she thought was an abandoned home, she met Lawrence, who had been sitting inside alone. This is Lawrence. He lives in a house I had believed to be abandoned. Leslie wrote alongside a photo she took of him. I found him in the living room. He has a hard time getting around, so he spends most of his time in there. Alone, she added, as she began to share his tragic story. Leslie Muir explained that Lawrence is missing his right eye, and his left isn't much better off because of severe cataracts. But his ill health hasn't seemed to hurt his spirit. Even after noticing a stranger essentially helping themselves to his life, he was nothing but sweet and kind to me, Leslie recalled, which must have been a relief after realizing the abandoned home she had entered uninvited and unannounced wasn't empty at all. He was even nice enough to let me take his picture, which I will always treasure, Leslie said, according to Little Things. The photographer stayed and got to know this man over the next 3 hours, and she was probably the first person he interacted with in months. On her own birthday, she stumbled upon the greatest gift, a new friend. Little did she know, this was only the beginning of something beautiful. Leslie Muir had crossed Lawrence's path at just the right time. Sadly, Lawrence didn't have a lot of time left. He was dying, and not a single person was around to care or be there for him when he did. He had mentally prepared himself to leave this life alone, since he had spent every day that way for years in this hardly inhabitable house. That is until Leslie came along and vowed to keep him company. Leslie kept her promise, ensuring Lawrence wouldn't be lonely anymore, and the two have since shared several meals together. They've even enjoyed BBQs and outings that neither had ever imagined. Over the next several weeks after Leslie found Lawrence on that fateful day, she took care of him, but then his health started to rapidly decline. However, Leslie wasn't about to let Lawrence be abandoned ever again. She helped him move into a retirement home, where she continued to visit with him often. He's safe and warm, and seems to be fairly happy to be around some new people, although I know he misses home, Leslie wrote of her friend's move. Lawrence didn't have very much longer to live, but at least he would leave this life feeling loved, all because a stranger decided to stop. He shared something with me that will stay with me forever. He said the day I showed up was the best day of his life, Leslie wrote, feeling ashamed of sounding self-righteous while also understanding how he feels. The best day of my life was when I met him. He gave me the chance to really do something for someone, an act of kindness with no expectation of reward. Leslie Muir concluded that no one takes a picture of something they want to forget, so after meeting Lawrence, she takes his picture as often as possible. There are angels who walk among us, and Leslie is one of them. She stopped at the right time to be Lawrence's family, finding that the house she had thought was empty wasn't abandoned at all, but the man inside was, until she stepped in, showing him kindness and love in his last days. No one deserves to be forgotten, and Leslie ensured that Lawrence never will be. Let's move on to the next story. What was supposed to be a wonderful camping trip soon turned into an indescribable nightmare for the Graff family. After a tragedy that is truly difficult to take in, the family is now mourning the loss of their two beloved little girls. On Mother's Day, the Graff family went hiking in Little Wild Horse Canyon in Utah, a popular hiking spot for families and youth groups. 4 family members, 2 girls, their mother, and an uncle, were walking through the classic, narrow trail in the canyon when a thunderstorm hit the area. Unfortunately, the storm caused severe flash flooding, and when it came with full force and swept away both girls, Kinsley and Ellie, their family members had no chance to do anything. The girls' dad, Tim, was nearby and soon realized something terrible had happened. He also made a horrific discovery before the authorities were alarmed and had reached the scene. Tragically, Tim found the body of his 7-year-old daughter Kinsley near the mouth of the canyon. There was nothing he could do. It is with great sadness that ECSO confirms that the deceased victim of yesterday's flash flood in Little Wild Horse Canyon is a 7-year-old Utah girl. Police said in a statement. At this point, Kinsley's sister, Ellie, was still missing. Over 80 people lined up and assisted in the search for her. People searched on foot, with motorcycles, and from the air, but it was difficult to find anything in the rugged and remote landscape. Sadly, on Tuesday, Ellie's body was found by a helicopter, 28 miles downstream from where she was last seen. A very sad ending to the search for the missing 3-year-old girl today. Police said in a statement, the family, from the Salt Lake City suburb of West Jordan, are now mourning 2 beloved girls. According to a GoFundMe page that was created to support the family during the unexpected tragedy, the girls' mother and father, Becky and Tim, were always on a family adventure, biking, hiking, camping. Words cannot describe the heartbreak of what has happened, and the support from family, friends, and those who just want to be able to send prayers, love, and thoughts to honor their beautiful daughters is truly needed, the page reads. The horrific incident has touched the whole state. Earlier this week, the Emery County Police and Utah Gov. Gary Herbert expressed their deepest sympathy to the Graff family. We are deeply saddened to hear of the tragic incident that happened in Little Wild Horse Canyon, Gov. Gary Herbert said on Twitter. Becky and the girl's uncle were able to escape the situation. Becky was sent to hospital, but her injuries are not life-threatening. At least 21 other hikers in the canyon were able to escape the flooding, local media reports. It only took about 15 minutes for the rain to produce a raging river. Tom Gowan, a PhD candidate at the University of Utah, who was also hiking in the canyon, said, "Heavy rain/hail in slot canyons is extremely dangerous." Gowan also filmed the incident, which shows the scary situation. To support the Graff family, you can visit the GoFundMe, aiming to help raise monetary funds in order to cover funeral services, medical bills, and household bills. Through showing our love and honoring sweet Kinsley and Ellie, we are looking to support Tim and Becky through this time. We have set this page up to raise monetary funds to support Tim and Becky with what has yet to come, the page reads. Thank you for honoring sweet Kinsley and sweet Ellie. Thank you for your support of Tim and Becky. Your prayers, thoughts, and monetary support are so appreciated at this time. This is so heartbreaking to read. I'm very sorry for your loss. No words can or will ease your pain. Rest in peace, beautiful little angels.